Hi there. Once again, we're into the Dutch place maps idea. Um, but I've flagged up in the past that I don't get involved if my selections are less than my actual overall stake, the return. And I've been having a very quick look, well, what happens if we oppose those instead? So in other words, looking for value elsewhere in the market. And I've done a few tests on some of the races earlier on today that essentially weren't selections or qualifiers for my normal method. And the results have been quite interesting. So I thought I'd do a quick video on this race to see how we get on. So you can see here, we're more than doubling our stake in terms of return if either of the outsiders wins. As I say, I've tested two previous races like this, one at Fairyhouse and one at Kelso, where there was very few runners. And both of them, one of my non-selections won the race, which was interesting. Now, generally speaking, the return from my selections is less than the stake, usually when there's a small field and the corresponding odds are low, or one of my selections happens to be a very fancied runner in the market. So yeah, what will happen? Let's just skip on towards the end of the race and see how we go on. Okay, we're off and running on this one. As you can see, I'm in simulation mode for this. And I've got my automation set. And I'm trialing this minus 50 readout thing. As I mentioned in the video the other day, I'm not convinced yet. Indeed, I've had a couple today where the performance of my selections went on and would have greened up. Indeed, one of them actually went on to win the race. So I'm not convinced, and I've actually changed it so that, based on what we saw from yesterday's results, I've changed it so that the trade out for a red up, if you want to use that phrase, it won't kick in until halfway through the race. And the idea behind that is to try and avoid a situation where, for example, a horse doesn't get a good start, is slow out the stalls or whatever, and rather than its odds going way up and then automatically greening out, only for the thing to get itself together again, I decided to let's wait later on in the race. And there's still an argument to say, let's delay that still further. But as I say, I'm still not convinced that I want to red up in running. I'm going to carry on testing it. I think I'll play around with when that red up kicks in and see if there's an optimum point. But obviously, the testing process, that'll take quite a few races to get a picture of what we want to do. But in the meantime, let's see how this race goes in terms of one, trading out, and two, the actual final winner. Keeping in mind that my actual selections in terms of the Dutch were, and using pace maps, were originally the two leading in the market, but they would result in a relatively low return, or lower than I would like. So I've only just started looking at this curiosity more than anything else when I saw some of the races today. I'm not saying that this is the way to go if you have effectively a non-qualifying race, simply opposing your selections. But it may be an option. As I said earlier, it seems to predominantly occur when there's a relatively small field. So that may be something you can do. I wouldn't necessarily do it if you've got a larger than 6 or 7 field, because it means that you're going to be Dutching essentially all the field bar 2 runners. And certainly from a greening out process in running, that can be quite difficult, especially towards the end of the race, where you'll find that some of your runners won't actually get matched properly during that trade out process. So as you can see on this particular one, yeah, there's been plenty of times you can manually trade out, sort of holding its own, and we're approaching a quarter of the race still to go. Let's see how we get on. While I'm here, let me just answer a couple of questions. I'm still not going to give you the ins and outs of what I'm doing here, but just to give you a tip that what you should do is concentrate on the top half of the market. The vast majority of races are won by runners in the top half of the market. Indeed, I think the stat is something like 72% are won by one of the top three. So concentrate on that. Don't go looking for big price runners. Although, yes, of course, these can shorten in price. And yes, of course, some of them do go on and win. But you're making your life a bit more difficult for yourself. So concentrate on the top half of the market when you're making your selections using pace maps. Okay, so that's our anti-picks, if you like, process greened up. So as I say, that might be an interesting way to go. Nearly the end of the race. Let's see if one of these goes on to win. It looks like this one's going to be the favoured winner. Yes, as I say, I mean, this is only the third option, the third time I've tried this afternoon, and every one of them has actually traded out. Two of them so far have been winners at £155 and £316. This one doesn't look like, haven't said that. Anti-Bridge nips in at the end. So it looks like Anti-Bridge has might have nabbed that right at the end there. I'll just skip ahead until the result comes in. Actually, in the meantime, whilst I'm waiting for that result to be confirmed, let me just switch to DACBot, and there's my returns for the day. I'm going to stop there, quite happy with that. I had a frustrating day earlier on. The first race was a winner, as you saw in my earlier video. The second race, my selection went on to win, but I didn't have a bet because I moved my notepad, which caught the power lead of my laptop, and cut the power. And my laptop doesn't have a battery. I packed in ages ago, and so the damn thing switched off, which was very frustrating. And then I had another winner, which I didn't get on because I was too slow to switch the DACBot to place the results, or to place the bet, I should say. And so that, I think I lost out on something like £45 worth of profit just in those two races. Still, we've all got stories of the one that got away. Very happy with the selection process, very happy with the results. First time out, I'm very happy to take £48. I mean, that's almost 25% of my bank as profit today. So I'm going to quit there today, and I'm working tomorrow, so I won't get back to this till Tuesday or Wednesday, where my stake will be 5% of £248. Good stuff. Right, let's just switch back to see if that result is in yet. Not yet. And there we are. Anti-Bridgie has been confirmed the winner. So that's the 3 out of 3. Obviously a very small sample, but that represents wins of 155, 316, and 222. Interesting. So that may be something I look at in more detail rather than having to ignore races. For example, today there was almost an hour's worth of races that weren't qualifiers, simply because either the resulting wins were too small or the fields were too small. And so that may be something that's worth looking at. Okay, guys, I shall catch you later on in the week. Cheers.